Looks like we're live on Facebook with Dr. Robert Silverman. What's up, man?
What's up, Ryan? How you feeling, my friend?
Feeling good. Always great to talk to you. Thanks so much for being on Brain Chat.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. This is exciting. We're going to really rock it. We're going to have some good conversations. I promise you.
Always. There's never a bad conversation with you. And right before we got started, we were just talking about your new books. Well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, your new book. We were talking about your books. Hey, that's us.
That's us. Look at that. Technology's great.
Hey, what's up, everybody? So you are Dr. Silverman, you're a chiropractor, a functional nutritionist. You practice up in New York, but you travel all over all the time because every time I talk to you, you're somewhere else. But you are also the author of a great book, and you're coming out with a new one soon. So can you tell us a little bit about your books?
Absolutely. My first book came out in 2016, Amazon bestseller, real happy with it, called Inside Out Health, A Revolutionary Approach to your Body. We looked at the body from the inside, clearly the title explained that. And I think so many doctors, even doctors in our field, don't look at the body as a whole and analyze it from the inside. They try to segmentalize it too much. So that first book was really trying to explain, to take a look at the inside of the body, different systems, root cause resolution. Now my new book, which is coming out in April of 2020, Super Highway to Health, that's really, and you just saw the picture, or one of the pictures we were deciding, is that highway between the gut and the brain and the gut axis, which for me, I think is the critical element to everybody's health. It's something that's overlooked and it cannot be talked about enough. So in that book, we're really talking about gut health. We're talking about SIBO. We're talking about brain. We're talking about concussions and how to treat it and how to assess it. The blood-brain barrier, we got a little Alzheimer's in there too. And we've got all these other derivatives of things to do in there. This one I have recipes in because you practice and I practice. So when I tell them they have to watch a diet, if I say, do a keto diet, do the Mediterranean diet, do a plant-based diet, people go, that's great. What does that mean and what's the recipe? So it covers all that.
All right. You got some recipes in the new book?
50 recipes. That's what my book company said. So we're there, 50 recipes.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, touching on gut brain, one of the things that we were going to discuss tonight is the barrier systems and specifically the blood-brain barrier. So for people that don't know about it, could you tell us a little bit about what the blood-brain barrier is and the importance of it?
Absolutely. It's interesting. The blood-brain barrier is a single-layer epithelial cell. It's made up of the same proteins as your gut, and it filters over 400 miles of blood. As its name implies, it actually is the separation between the brain and the blood system. Now, the problem with the blood-brain barrier is when compromised, it leads down a path of neural autoimmunity. Whereas if you had a damaged gut, you still have your immune system outside your gut to kind of play with it and fend it off. When you damage that blood-brain barrier, it's a bad day for that brain. And we all know that the brain is a critical organ because all other organ systems communicate with the brain. Nobody knows that more than you with your advanced functional neurology background. And the name of your place called Brain Chat. So for me, I think that everybody should consider all facets that may or may not damage that blood-brain barrier.
Yeah, I always explain it. I'm sure you've heard this before, explained it before, but we've got this big screen door, and it's almost like if you're trying to sit outside and enjoy a nice summer breeze, if you have a small tear in the screen door, a couple of mosquitoes get in, and then, your day just turns to crap because you can't enjoy it as much with the mosquitoes coming in. And that's essentially what starts to happen when you have a breakdown in that barrier system.
Absolutely. I think that's a great analogy. I like to call it the bouncer to the brain. I grew up in New York City, so the bouncer kept the good guys in and let the bad guys out, or it's really the doorway to the brain. And, we don't want to open our brain to everything that's out there, all the toxins, the bacteria, the yeasts, and the such. Interesting. One little side about the blood-brain barrier, what we're finding out, a lot of literature is robust on the fact that the blood-brain barrier damage implies that you're on your path going towards Alzheimer's. In addition to that, the blood-brain barrier also predicts many of the different neurological diseases. So for me, I like to test blood-brain barrier on all my patients if they're willing to spend a few dollars and do a fee-for-service lab test.
For sure. So, what types of things can cause issues or lack of integrity in the blood-brain barrier system? What do you typically see in your office? Is it nutrition? Is it trauma?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the modern day. So let's start with trauma. Let's start with concussion. Now, let's really talk about concussion. Concussion is interesting in that it's really shearing, it's not so much impact. So you have this 3-pound organism called your brain, which has a consistency of jello. All you guys know it, but it's a consistency of jello. So that shear actually damages all those axons. But some of the bigger problems inside that brain is that metabolic cascade that damages the brain and the surrounding filter, which is the blood-brain barrier, that excitotoxicity, that glutamate being released, calcium going in, potassium going out, going through a cascade of different pathways, ultimately leading to cell death. The blood-brain barrier can also be damaged by a lot of toxins and neuroautoimmunity. Those toxins can come from what we call our environment. I mean, some of the bigger tests now are all environmentally based. Our diet is part of our environment. So what you started to say and alluded to is without question one of the most damning things. Just think of the toxins in our life. BPA, phthalates, and the such all can damage barriers. So just remember, whatever damages your gut damages your brain. Whatever damages your brain damages your gut. Now, I know all the functional neurologists know that, but they have to say it just that simply to their patient. Take a second and let it pause so they now know it also.
So if you suspect or you see blood-brain barrier issues in a patient, what are the typical symptoms that may present as some sort of disruption in the blood-brain barrier?
Some of the symptomology, is really interesting. Again, people come in and say, I can't remember things. I'm having some inability to learn, cognitive effects. We're talking basic history. You don't, again, have to be that high-level functional neurology doctor. It's fascinating to hear them. They'll also say some different things like, I'm not performing as well. Whether it be at their job, whether it be at their local tennis court, whether if it's their walk. So it's interesting, a lot of brain fog. Brain fog is huge. And we all know that brain fog can come also from the gut. And what about all the symptomologies? Because you damage your brain, that you damage your gut. Number one thing that they complain in a doctor's office, fatigue.
Yeah.
Datis did a great job. He talked about all those silent things that we all see. Depression, yes, it was coming from the gut up, but obviously you have a compromised brain also. Chronic pain. So all those things that we don't necessarily attribute right away to a brain or a gut-brain axis injury are right there for us.
Yeah, I always start whenever I see patients and they're kind of describing, they just don't feel themselves, like they're kind of off. Whether it's the brain fog, the excessive sleepiness, stuff like that. That's like one of the first things that comes to my mind is, how's their barrier systems? How's their gut? How's their brain? And I've seen a lot of times both of those, like you said, go hand in hand. There's a dysfunction in gut. And if they have chronic dysfunction in gut, that can lead to the peripheral inflammation. And then their brain starts to almost become attacked and you lose that integrity. So it's pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It is fascinating how it's really taking our world by storm. And for me, so people say, what's your goal? And I say, I always want to manage and modulate inflammation. And one of the biggest things is I want to manage and modulate inflammation because I want to avoid autoimmunity. And I clearly want to avoid autoimmunity in the brain. So when you take that 3-step tier, it becomes a little more simplistic for every practitioner, every patient. And I think that patients are concerned about the brain. They don't know to come to chiropractors for it. And nobody's better suited for the kind of conversation that we're having now than a well-trained chiropractor.
For sure. So you mentioned lab testing. Can you talk a little bit about what some of that testing may look like to look at the health of the barrier systems?
Absolutely. So you guys all know that I use a lot of Cyrex, and you guys seem to mention a lot. So I find Array 20, which is the blood-brain barrier, quite effective to really ascertain where the status of the blood-brain barrier is. I also use 2 a lot also. 2 is more for the gut, intestinal permeability. Those are 2 of my more popular tests that I'll look at. Now they also have an Alzheimer's links, so you can get a good quality look at that, and they really take into consideration a lot of the environmental toxins. There's other lab tests that I look for blood-brain barrier called NFL, but it's NF-L because the NFL wanted them to get rid of it. Neurofilament light chain. That's a great predictor. It's a protein enzyme that gets released from brain damage, usually implies a blood-brain barrier damage. With that being said, that can actually, if that's elevated, can kind of tell you Alzheimer's 16 years in advance. So there's a few other of the inflammatory ones. You've got your C-reactive protein and all your interleukins will imply a microenvironment in the brain, possibly damaging the blood-brain barrier also.
Awesome. So you can get lab testing to see if you're having that lack of integrity, because a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, without question, you can have that. There's also genetic markers. I work with a company. We won't release the names, so I don't want people to think I'm just throwing names out.
No, you can do. That's what this is, a free forum, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, well I use Toolbox Genomics a lot, and what they do is they test genes, traits, and SNPs, and check a probability if you have a susceptibility to a brain injury and a blood-brain barrier injury. So there's a lot there, and I think we're at the precipice of it. I think it's at a tipping point, and in that tipping point, I think we're going to see more and more tests and really get spot on accurate. I mean, I went to school 20-something years ago. I actually been out 20 years, and they said the word leaky gut. Now, if you stop it then and leaky gut, and how did they know? Gas and bloating, which is still prevalent. But now, if you talk leaky gut, look at the amount of tests. Look at the amount of people who are talking about it. Look at the amount of companies that are testing for it, and look at the amount of the plethora of protocols that we all have. You have one, I have one. Our listeners have about 3 each. So this conversation of the blood-brain barrier in 2, 3, and 4 years, we're going to have a ton of tests, and that's great.
Yeah, I think it's great. I just, I've met so many people where they're kind of just, and not even with physical trauma, like you said, this can happen from environmental pollutants, the nutrition that we're eating, the food that we're eating, just emotional stress. You can start to lose that integrity, and people just, they're almost told like, hey, just wait and see, or rest and see if it gets better. But there's so many proactive things we can be doing, testing, changing our lifestyle, all that stuff. So absolutely, it's exciting.
It is really exciting. One quick little aside. So you asked before, what damages the blood-brain barrier? So obviously a damaged gut, leaky gut, etc. What happens is the gut releases matrix metalloproteinases, MMPSs. MMP9 has been indicated to damage the blood-brain barrier. So there are specific markers that are being released from the gut as one of the additional things that can damage the blood-brain barrier. And I wanted to share that. Interesting, MMP9 and the release of MMPs also damage extremities and also damage the spine. So here's a chiropractor having somebody come in, chiropractor joint, chiropractor spine, good. Walking in, hey, my back hurts, this and that. And then you can ascertain the release of MMP9s and say, hey, dude, I'm going to help you with your back pain, no problem. But I better put that fire out. Otherwise, right up there is a problem.
For sure. MMP9. So are you talking about like skeletal pains? Is that?
Yeah, well, MMP9, it damages in fibrocartilage. So so there you go. So that's the one that's been specific to the blood-brain barrier, but all MMPs are your own proteolytic enzymes that are released at the time of injury. When they're released in excess, obviously an injury or uninterrupted injury, it's going to damage fibrocartilage and other specific type of barriers.
Love it. MMP9. I gotta look that up.
MMP9, matrix metalloproteinase 9. Yep.
Always learning from Dr. Silverman.
I appreciate that. I had one nugget for you. I feel good today. My day's complete.
Always nuggets. Okay, so you're a big nutrition guy. Can you talk a little bit about some of maybe the foods that we're eating that may be affecting blood-brain barrier as a general rule, and then in a good way and a bad way?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the obvious one, let's talk about it. Let's get to the monkey. Gluten. Gluten means glue, sticks to your intestinal tract. Dr. Perlmutter said right on stage, do we really have to talk about gluten in the gut? Can we just say gluten in brain? Can we get to it? And he's right. Glutamine means glow. It's deleterious. And some of the things that are even more deleterious than gluten is the Roundup and the glyphosate. And, you know, it's interesting. We were talking, I'm going to be lecturing in England. England's got a glyphosate problem. They have a weed killer problem. So the glyphosate is extraordinarily damaging to the microvilli in the gut, which again will damage your brain. Some of the other things now, here I am, a New York guy. I'm wearing my little sweater vest over here. I go to the Midwest and I say, no wheat, no gluten. They're not liking me too much. And then I hit them with the no dairy. And oh man, I'm in Iowa. It's the dairy farmers. And I'm
You're such a jerk.
I'm done. I'm done. I am excommunicated. I am the anti-everything. But dairy, I mean, dairy poses a major problem. We all want to avoid dairy. Dairy is such a high allergy food. So, I mean, the numbers are, I think it's like 73% given IgM and IgG response, 64% to gluten. So obviously dairy. So what I use most patients, and I tell them to keep their brain in tow, real simple. GPS, no gluten, no processed food, no added sugar. Take care of your DNA. No dairy, no nicotine, no artificial sweeteners. You know, we see the artificial sweeteners increase the incidence of dementia and stroke by 2 to 3 times, depending on which one that you take. And of course, avoid the fried foods. If you could do that, you're halfway there. Good brain foods, you said. Well, the obvious, olive oil, avocado. Yep. I mean, these are obvious. Raw nuts, without question. Great choices. Wild salmon, I call them smash fish. So smash being salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. So these are basic things. We all know that, but these are things, again, we need to share with the patient because we can't hit them with the 35,000 foot view when they walk in because they're, wait a minute, hold on. So I just told a few patients today, no gluten, no dairy, and they looked at me and they were like, really? I mean, like, you mean like 80% of the time? And I'm like, we talk fast in New York, but we do not stutter. No gluten, no dairy.
That's the biggest question I get, especially regarding gluten is, you know, so how much can I have? So what do you say when they say, can I have a little bit? Can I have a small percentage? What if I like to drink beer on the weekends, but I'm still having this brain fog?
You know, when I say, oh man, it's just so hard because I mean, you just made the great example of beer. Fortunately, there are gluten-free beers now. They say it doesn't taste the same. I don't drink, so I can't really tell you. So the truth of the matter is, and you see I'm almost uncomfortable answering this because this is what we're going through in writing my book. I'm a big believer in gluten-free. I don't think it's too much to ask. You know, either drink a gluten-free beer or, you know, hey, look at this, go to the hard liquor. Now I'm purporting. Now I didn't get to the second tier about alcohol, but you know, I'd be out of business if I told them no alcohol. But the bottom line is we all know that excessive consumption of alcohol obviously wouldn't be that good. But the reality is we treat patients. We don't treat robots. So we have to talk to them. So if we can get them gluten-free and you can get them dairy-free, you know, between that GPS and DNA, it's a good day for everybody involved.
Awesome. Yeah, I 100% agree. Got to keep out those big ones, the big common allergens. So what are some lifestyle things, some therapy things that patients could do to help increase the integrity, the resilience of the blood-brain barrier, or help repair?
Well, there was an article that just came out. I mean, there's multiple articles. There was an article that just came out about talking about weight resistance and its great ability to keep cognitive effect, brain-derived neurotrophic factors, which we all know are protein enzymes that come from the gut to the hippocampus that allow for brain neurogenesis. So resistance, that does not mean we have to do an Arnold Schwarzenegger workout. Resistance can simply be body weight.
Yeah.
So exercise, let's get walking, let's get moving. Some of the things other than the lifestyle, the good quality foods that we talked about, whole foods, which is the best diet? Well, plant-based is now pretty hot. That's a great choice. I like plant-based plus the proteins, you know, the grass-fed beefs. Yeah.
Just speaking of plant-based, did you see there's a Netflix documentary called The Game Changers?
Phenomenal.
Yeah. So I'm not a plant-based person. I'm not hardcore. Like I have to only eat meat, but it was pretty compelling, the evidence that that guy presented. I thought it was great.
It was great. And you know, the number one diet, there was a study that came out, there's 1,100 people, and they did a study and they found out to a little surprise to me that it wasn't the macronutrients, it was the quality of the macronutrients. So everybody needed to eat plants, nuts, seeds, fruits, vegetables. And the key takeaway there was no pesticides, no toxins, and keep your microbiome in pristine condition. So that's the bottom line. I mean, you know, I always say, are you keeping your barriers healthy? So the example I give my patients, you know, if you cut yourself, you put a Band-Aid on it. Everybody knows that, you see it. But how come you're not putting a Band-Aid on your gut or your brain? Because you don't see it and you don't realize it.
Yep. The silent epidemic, brain fog, brain, you know, concussion, post-concussion syndrome.
I'll give you a great example. So we talk about consumption, a couple of other things you talk about food. So I'm a big proponent on getting brain-derived neurotrophic factors. You can get those from ketone bodies. So clearly ketone bodies are a great choice. Proper time restrictive eating, not intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is fine. It means not eating for a day. Time restrictive eating, eating in a 8 to 10 hour window, really going to be great for cognitive effect. Fabulous idea. In addition to that, I tell everybody, if you're not sure, there are no essential carbs, there are essential fats, and there are essential amino acids. Choose wisely. If you don't believe me, go on Brain Chat with Ryan, go for it and have a banana. Go back to next week and have MCT oil. And you tell me where you're more energetic, where you're ready to go. And then go to the gym and do the same thing, a banana versus MCT oil. Clearly, the MCT oil is great brain fuel and better fuel for overall performance. Again, you know, good choices all the way.
Got to do it. Okay, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I have to ask you, what's your for brain health? What are like your top 3 favorite supplements?
My favorite supplements. I'm happy you gave me 3 because I would have been here and we definitely would have missed our workout time. I'm going to work out. You're going to go with your wife. So magnesium L3.
Actually, you inspired me. I'm going to go work out for like
yeah, man. We can do this and we can work out together. We can call our Brain Chat mirror. You know, we work out. Magnesium L-threonate. I think the literature is real robust on that. MIT came out with it, and it was September of 2016. And essentially, magnesium L-threonate, 2 grams a day, has spoken to the idea of decreasing brain aging by 9 to 14 years, increases absorbable brain magnesium, I think, by 50% and 15% again in the spinal cord. Great choice to help with learning and cognition, magnesium L-threonate. Real simple, omega-3 fatty acids.
Yeah.
And I'm talking 4 to 6 grams of omega-3 fatty acids. Great choice, helps with axons, great for cell membrane health. Also really the choice to help prevent and precipitously decrease the incidence of concussion. You mix it with a little exercise like we're talking about, increases body composition. And the last one would be pro-resolving mediators. Pro-resolving mediators are a fractionation of fish oils. They allow for the resolution of inflammation. These resolvents are a critical element. They also allow for the homeostasis between the initiation and the resolution of inflammation, even in the brain. So those would be my big 3. There's others, but we'll go with that for now.
Love it. Well, I can't thank you enough. Always enjoy learning and just speaking with you. You inspire me, man. You have so much energy, and you know, you look like you're 25.
Oh my God. I appreciate that. Thank you. My hairstylist will be happy. And I got to say, and I hope everybody hears, mark this guy I'm talking to right here. This is a superstar in the world of chiropractic. He just has to unleash himself just a little bit more. You are the superstar between your knowledge of functional medicine, functional neurology, being a nurse practitioner, and that absolute smile with all that integrity. You're the man, and you're doing a lot for me. And guys like you make these old dogs want to work a little harder because we just want to hang with the superstars.
No, dude, I'm telling you, I got off the phone with you on a Friday night, and I forget what airport you were in, but I got home and I was like, "You're not this guy. He's traveling." I got home and I was telling my wife, like, "Dr. Silverman, I just talked to him on the phone. He's here, he's there," and then he practices early Monday morning. Like, he's out of control. She's like, "That guy's hardcore."
You know what? I had torticollis and somebody changed my life around. You know, we as chiropractors, it doesn't matter what kind of chiropractor we are, we're chiropractors because somebody changed our life and touched us. And nobody knows who this chiropractor is. He's still got his small little practice, doing his thing. and everything. And I just said, you know, this is the greatest thing in the world. You know, I was telling you that a daughter came in from a high school friend of mine. So we went to high school together. And a lot of people say, did it make you feel old? And I said, no, I can still remember at the prom sitting and talking with her. It wasn't my date. And it was a blink of an eye. So you got to make every moment count. And
Yeah.
the more people you can help, like I was helped, like you're helping people. I mean, I always tell everybody, I want to be a man of value and not necessarily a man of success.
Well, you are, and we're grateful for it. And I can't wait to catch you live in person because I've just watched a bunch of your YouTube videos. So
Oh my God, my YouTube videos.
they're great. So yeah, for anyone watching, Dr. Silverman has a great Facebook page. He's always doing live little sessions where he teaches a lot of great information. And then for his book on Amazon, you can check it out. That's already out from 2016, Inside Out Health. And then his new book is coming out in 2020 or the end of December.
That is coming. I was just playing with the phone and watching you and listening to the comments. I wanted to answer some of them. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'll answer all the questions.
We should really. My book's coming out in April of 2020, Super Highway to Health.
Okay.
So guys, please, my Facebook is Dr. Robert Silverman. Please like my Facebook, follow it. We're going to get everybody.
You have like over 100,000 people following.
Yeah, about 120. We're working hard. You know, we're trying to spread the word. We're doing everything that we can. And my phone won't shut up. It's
well, make sure I'll put the link.
I'm so tech savvy. I can't shut my phone off. Let me shut my phone off.
Forget about it. No, I was kidding.
Forget about it. I don't speak like that. That's New Jersey, not New York. Just so you walked into that.
Well, let's go get your workout on. But I'm going to put the link to your the Amazon. What's the best way to buy your book? Do you prefer Amazon or what's the best?
Yeah,
way?
they can go to Amazon, and when my new book comes out, you'll be able to go right to my Facebook. We'll have a link. The Super Highway to Health. Ryan knows that we're picking the cover right now. We got it down to 2.
Oh, great.
Of course, Ryan likes one. I like the other, but I like them both, and it's all good. Guess what? He liked the one with the picture of the brain.
They're both legit.
They're both great. It doesn't.
They're eye-catching. I'm excited to see them when you're walking in the airport. They're going to be all over the bookstores.
There you go. I love that. Yeah, that's. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
For sure. And thank you so much for your time. And anyone who's watching, I'll answer all the questions. I just haven't had a chance to, so I'll catch you guys in a little bit. And I'm just going to end the live. So thanks so much, Dr. Silverman.
Take care. Thanks everybody for their time. Good luck. Always yours.